You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We are back with another episode of the Snobbish Show. This is episode 337 of the show. And as per usual, we always want to thank you for your continued support. On this week's show, we got iOS 26.1 possible changes. Toyota does what GM is not doing and adds more Apple functionality to its cars. AirPods are experiencing airplane issues at 30,000 feet. There's some weird sound going on. We got ICE agents out scanning faces to confirm citizenship. We're going to talk about the no limit versus cash money versus and my bathroom remodel tips. This is not a tech tip, but I just had to share it. So that's what's coming on this week's show. So like I said, we want to thank everybody for your support. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast and be a part of our Snobbish community. And as a thank you for being a part of our Snobbish community, we get you some exclusive content and you get to listen to the show early. So we always want to thank you to our Snobbish community. They keep the lights on. So definitely a thank you to them. So like I said, we're going to get into the show. We always start with the lowdown. And like I mentioned, I really don't talk rumors or upcoming things. I kind of like to wait until things are permanent. But just based on our interactions with you, you know, for the most part, that a release candidate is pretty much damn near close to the thing that's going to come out. iOS 26.1 is not out yet. But according to the stories that I've read, it looks like iOS 26.1 has some pretty notable changes. And I just wanted to come through and run through some of those changes or updates that will be coming when iOS 26.1 is officially released. Probably in about a week, I say, maybe a little bit longer. But let me go ahead and run through some of these, right? So The first one that I noticed was the liquid glass toggle. A lot of people were experiencing some issues with the liquid glass, and it looks like Apple is giving you an option to be able to toggle liquid glass on and off. If you toggle it on, it has like a little tint to the liquid glass, so it isn't so translucent. The next thing up is a camera lock screen swipe. Basically, what this means is when your phone is locked, you can turn on this setting to where you can quickly swipe to the left, I think, or to the right. I don't know which one, but you can swipe to the left or right and open up the camera so you can quickly go from your phone being locked to actually taking a picture, which that's what most people care about. The next thing
can
up,
you do that already?
I don't think so.
Because I'm on my phone. Because I was like, I thought you could do that already.
Well,
and like
so
I'm on my lock screen. Oh no,
well,
it's not. Okay, not my lock screen.
Right.
It was just my home
screen.
Forget me.
It was always on display. Makes you think that the phone is locked, but actually, if you're looking at it and you have Face ID, it's unlocked. So, but with the lock screen on and the phone locked, you can turn this on. It's not on by default, so you have to actually go into the settings and turn on this lock screen swipe. But if you do that from the lock screen, you can take a picture. The next thing I got going on, or 26.1 release candidate has, is the AirPods Pro live translation adds additional languages. It adds Chinese, adds Italian, adds Japanese, and adds Korean. So if you are looking to use the AirPods Pro, the live translation, now you can use it in more languages. The last one I got is iPad slide over multitasking. When iOS 26.1 came out, they added a new multitasking feature to the iPad that enabled you to pretty much like snap windows to the different corners and different configurations. But that replaced the ability for me to, if I'm doing multitasking on a screen and I remember like the messages is right behind that, I can swipe over from the right hand side of the screen and it'll sift through all of those different windows that I currently got open. When iOS 26 came out, they ditched it, but it looks like in iOS 26.1, when it comes out officially, you'll be able to have those two options for multitasking on an iPad. So they're not going back to the slide over feature and getting rid of the snapping to the corners. They're giving it to you both. So you'll have a choice between those two. So out of all of those features, are any of those you're waiting for, interested to try out when iOS 26.1 officially releases?
I don't think so. Um, I don't think so. I think the only thing maybe with the live translations is I'm looking for um some. Oh, I see it does have Vietnamese on here.
Oh,
Okay.
it does. They added it, or
Well, I'm looking at the list and it says under the I'm looking at the article that you have from 9 to 5 Mac, and it says Apple Intelligence gains support for Chinese, Danish, Dutch, Norwegian, Portuguese, Swedish, Turkish, and Vietnamese.
okay, all right. So I missed a couple of them. All right.
Oh, you know what?
Um,
I'm lying. I'm lying.
oh,
That's the Apple Intelligence that gains that support, not the live
live
translations. It's all
translation.
kind of in the
Right.
same kind of section. But yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't really have a huge problem with the liquid glass.
Hmm.
There are a couple of things where it kind of looks when you're scrolling or how you have like the time and like all the other things at the very top. Sometimes when you're scrolling with the liquid glass, it kind of you can't really see it that well. But I think that's just like fine tuning of the liquid glass itself. But other than that, I don't really see anything in this that is gonna be, revolutionary to my daily use. I mean, I guess it's neat, some of
Hmm.
the stuff, but nothing that really says, "Oh wow, yay, I'm glad that uh iOS 26.1 is coming out." And I have to say I'm a bit surprised that it's not um for it to be an a new version, a major version. Um I'm surprised that it appears to have so little. Or am I
About the
just
16 the dot one.
the dot one? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, let me not say. I don't recall the dot one releases having so much stuff in them after the new version comes out. So I'm not sure. Personally, I'm fine with liquid glass. It works just fine to me.
Hmm.
The camera lock screen swipe, maybe. I have the camera action button, and I got it set to where I just double click that, and it gets me
Hmm.
into the camera. So don't really care about the lock screen swipe. The live translation, I've used it, but I don't see myself using it for some of these other languages. But that's
Hmm.
just me. But actually, the iPad slide over multitasking, that's something that I was missing actually. I don't do a lot of multitasking on my iPad, but
Hmm.
when I went to try to snap the screens, do the side by side or do the
Hmm.
top and the bottom, it took a minute to try to figure it out when before prior to iOS 26, I could just swipe over from the right hand side and it would toggle through all the different screens that I have
The
open.
different
And then,
configurations you can have, right?
yes. But real quickly to be able to swipe and like have two screens on
Hmm.
the iPad at the same time, the iOS 26 way, you have to jump through a couple steps.
Yeah.
But the previous iOS, I want to say iOS, not iOS, iPad OS 18, I think it was what it was before 26. You could just swipe
Yeah.
and it would bring over like a thinner version of the screen or the window that you have behind that. And then you could spread that out. I kind of like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to iPad OS 26.1 and see how they've integrated the iPad slide over multitasking in addition to keeping the new way of multitasking. So,
Yeah, because I've noticed and it's like when you're using a larger desktop, no, a larger like monitor, how you kind of have to, use the handles to kind of make it smaller or larger to kind of,
Hmm.
if you want to like split the screen. And I've noticed that it doesn't, when you use, it has this little like angled curve that's basically like your handle where you can kind of resize the
Hmm.
window. It
Hmm.
doesn't give you that perfect symmetry. You kind of have to force it. You have to slide it over just enough, then pull in the other screen, then slide over just enough. So it is, uh, for me, I've noticed because I was trying to use multiple screens on something the other day, and it was just like I was like, I don't remember it being this complicated to
Right.
get two screens, two windows up side by side
All
to
right.
be able to maybe watch a video and type something. I was like, I don't remember it being this convoluted, but
Yeah.
I
All
guess.
right. Well, I'm pretty sure there's more things coming out of iOS 26.1 when it actually releases next week. So time will tell.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
thinking it's probably going to be a lot of smaller fixes that, bug fixes that they weren't able to get to when they initially released this. That had to kind of slide over. So I'm hoping like some of the more, I guess, mundane issues that people are having when they use these devices, that those fixes will be in place, or things that they wanted to get into iOS 26 that weren't quite ready. They can go ahead and slide those in on this version as well.
yep. Yep. All right. Speaking of mundane things that needs to be fixed, our next story, AirPod airplane issues. So there are some people who are reporting that there's some sort of weird AirPods Pro 3 glitch to where if you are using active noise cancellation mode on a flight when you're at 30,000 or whatever the cruising altitude for
Mhm.
a plane is, it's very according to the reports, is very apparent that the new ones, the AirPods Pro 3, have a noticeable wind whooshing noise. Occasionally it gets worse and it becomes intermittent, high pitched whistle noise,
Ooh.
says people who are posting on Reddit and social media and things of that nature. Again, I haven't been on a plane with my AirPods Pro 3, but I can imagine this being an issue because you are relying on active noise cancellation for whatever noises to just drown out all of the airplane engine noise, all of the babies crying, all of the annoying toddlers or annoying adults. You want
It
to,
was just talking and just,
right. You
all the
want to,
sounds.
I put my AirPods in because I don't want nobody to talk to me. So if I pretend like I got something
I can't
playing,
hear you.
yeah,
I can't hear you.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I can imagine you buying these things, the sole purpose to take them on a flight to like really isolate yourself, and then
Mhm.
all you get is this high pitched whooshing, whirring. What they say? Is it a whistle noise? That would be irritating.
Right, because the thing is, the noise cancellation, it sounds like that part is working, but in the cocoon of no sound, you're getting this whistle noise. To
Mhm.
me, that has to be even more annoying than some of the other outside noise, because you are kind of cocooned, and the only thing you are hearing is this whistle noise.
Right, right. Yeah. So time will tell. If you're listening to us and you have AirPods Pro 3 and you've been on a flight, test them out. Let us know. Come back and let us know. All right. So the last story I have in the lowdown is we talked about this last week with GM making their decision to pull CarPlay from all of their devices. I mean, all of their cars, whether they be electric vehicles or not. For now, GM says they're not going to retroactively pull CarPlay for some of the current models that are already out on the road. But anything 2026, 2020, 2027 model year and up, whether it's EV or not, GM has decided to pull CarPlay for reasons, right? About conversely, Toyota is actually doubling down and they are adding Apple Maps EV routing in CarPlay. So basically, let me break it down. When you get driving directions, Apple Maps can track your vehicle's charge by analyzing elevation changes along the route and other factors. Maps identifies appropriate charging stations along the way, and for select charging providers and countries, it provides real-life charging station availability, excuse me. If you drive until your charge gets too low, you're offered a route to the nearest compatible charging station. That sounds solid and useful. I don't drive an EV, but I can imagine people when with AVs and they have, I think they call it route anxiety or range anxiety is what they call it.
Mm.
Range anxiety basically is like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. So people with electric vehicles take all this extra time to map out, plan out routes before they leave, just so they can make sure that they can arrive to a charging station
If
and it ain't
necessary.
broke
Yeah.
and they can actually use it to charge up before they go to the next stop. So
Yeah.
Apple Maps is taking some of that guesswork out and taking some of that pre-planning out. When you put in an address, and you're in an EV and you have the Apple Maps EV feature, it just kind of does it for you to where it's like, all right, well, we could go this way. Or why don't we go this way? Because
Yeah.
this charging station is open. They've got available charging stations. Why don't we try that one? Right.
Yeah. And so for me, these are the kind of things when I talk about making my life easier. I want tech to make my life easier. This is something that a person with an EV uses consistently, and making sure that I have a route, the option for a route that is going to take me by a charger that is also that is compatible with my vehicle,
Mhm.
and you're planning ahead for me by looking ahead. And again, that to me, this is what tech needs to do, especially where we are right now, because you have people doing all this other stuff. Give me some of the bread and butter stuff, things that I didn't know was going to make life easier for me. Give me these types of things,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
right now everybody's smartphone looks the same, basically has the same features. There's nothing really setting phones apart as far as the way they look. Where I think the difference comes in is the software behind it. Give me software that makes things easier for me. And, this is very smart.
Yeah.
Um, this is very smart for Apple Maps and for Toyota, because Apple Maps does get a bad rap. Um, and I think
Not so
something like
much
this.
not so much anymore. I think people are cozying up to the idea that Apple Maps is on par with Google Maps for the most
Mhm.
part. Now, I was reading a story to where this is the anniversary of Apple firing Scott Forstall
Mm.
because of the
How bad
poor
Apple Maps was.
when it launched. They was
Yeah,
like, "Man, you gotta get out of here." But
because it
since
was
then,
bad. It was
yeah, but
bad.
since then, they've made improvements, improvements, improvements,
Yeah.
and I would venture to say that Apple Maps is on par with Google Maps, but that's, story for
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this, and good for them. Good for them for doing this.
Yeah. Now, of course, it's not as easy as just adding Apple Maps EV, according to the story 9 to 5 Mac, due to a special integration needed with a vehicle's battery status. Automakers have to first work with Apple to enable the feature before it can become available to consumers. So there's still a little bit of hoops to jump through. Apple still got their hands in it. It's like, look, we want to make sure this works, so we need to make sure we work very, very closely. It ain't just flipping a switch. We got to run through some
Right.
tests and do some things, because what you don't want is people stuck in the middle of nowhere because their Apple Maps messed up and told them that there's a charger down the road. They ain't nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah. Or that it doesn't match their car.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So we've got a little bit of way to go before EVs become mainstream, but they're getting
Yeah.
there.
Yep. Definitely get in there.
All right, that's going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string, and it looks like ICE agents are using face scanning technology on the streets, on their phones, to verify citizenship of would be people who they consider or would assume are undocumented immigrants.
How could this
So,
go wrong?
yeah, right. And um, I don't know. It's just the lengths at which this government will go to,
Show how much they hate people.
yes, and it's It's crazy because, like, we talked about it last week, how, well, not a week before, about how Apple was blocking, or yeah, blocking apps
Mhm.
that helped us identify when ICE was in the area. Apple's like, no, that can't do that, right? Now, I'm not saying Apple has anything to do with this face scanning technology, but at the same time, it's like, all right, man, if you give, if the government and the officials and ICE, they've got all the tools to find undocumented, undocumented immigrants.
Mhm.
Why can't we have the tools as well to make sure that undocumented immigrants are, well, let me say undocumented, the ICE agents are not overstepping their boundaries, which
Right.
we know they're doing, which we know they're out there just rounding up people just
Who
off
are
of,
brown and black.
right, profiling, targeting, and don't have nothing to do with any sort of leads, or we've got a good
Actual
hunch,
police work.
or right, or investigative reporting or anything like that.
Right.
They're just walking around rounding up people and saying, "Hey, you fit the description. Are you an undocumented immigrant?" And the people don't have to respond, but the whole point is to scare tactics, and for an ICE agent to come up to you and be like, "Put your face up here," and scan your face, and the person who's getting a face scan, first, is an invasion of privacy, and then
Right.
two, you can't even guarantee me that whatever you're using on your phone, whether it's an app, whether it's a whatever the case may be, is going to be foolproof,
How accurate is it?
because we know we've talked about stories on this
Yeah.
show to where facial recognition is terrible.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, ICE is out here messing up people's lives because they got a cute little app on their phone that when people say, "I'm not giving you my ID, I'm not giving you my verification," they can just put their phone in your face and quote unquote verify who you are.
Isn't that, I mean, I don't see how this isn't like illegal search and seizure. Like you have to have probable cause to stop people. I mean, that was a whole issue with stop and frisk. That's where it was getting into illegal territory because they were frisking people
Mhm.
who they said fit the description, or they made up some reason that wasn't valid. And like, it, how are you, taking my physical property, which the physical property is my body, my face, and circumventing any type of proper police or legal procedure. You
And
can't
me,
just walk up to people and say, "Hey, I don't know you. I don't know what you're doing. I don't
mhm.
know if this software or these tools you have are valid. How do I know that they're correct? You could do this," and the app could say one thing and they could say, "Nope, we're going to take you in anyway." Or the app could be wrong. And
And it's so ironic. What's so ironic is the ICE agents have their face covered up. It's like, all right, man, what are
right.
we doing? All right, come on, man. If you gonna want me to identify myself and evasively scan my face to verify who I am,
You need to verify yourself.
for real, and you just having a bulletproof vest that says ICE on it, that ain't enough.
You can buy
Meanwhile,
those from Amazon
right?
or police prop shops.
Meanwhile, you sweating all these people for all this identification. It's like, come on, man, let's be for real.
Did you see, it's kind of a tangent, but kind of related. Did you see what happened to the kid that got handcuffed because the AI that the police were using mistook his bag of Doritos
For a
for a
gun?
gun?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So that is just another reason why facial recognition has a long way to go, especially with black and brown people, before this can become a true measure or true confirmation of who we are, who you're looking for, who you're dealing with, who this person's identity is. We got a long way to go, but
Yeah.
that ain't stopping nothing,
What's the saying? One monkey
unfortunately.
don't stop no show. There's like, we're not
Yeah.
gonna let you stop us from
Mhm,
arresting people because that makes us feel good about ourselves.
mhm.
It's
It's better.
wild. And you know that
Yep.
these companies aren't following proper AI or technology ethics
Mhm.
because they really don't have to. Unfortunately, there aren't really any precedents or federal guardrails on this, and they
Mhm.
don't have to take in certain biases when they're creating these, because a lot of times the people that are writing this stuff and creating this stuff, they don't see anything outside of themselves, or they don't plan for anything typically outside of themselves or their knowledge base when they're going in and, creating these things. So it's a long way to go, and unfortunately, during this long way to go, a lot of people are going to be harmed in it.
Yep, unfortunately. All right, so that's it for second string. We're going to move into for the culture. Now, I didn't watch it, but this is a pretty watershed moment for Black history, Black culture. So I just wanted to ask: did you watch the No Limit versus Cash Money versus over the weekend?
I watched it via social media because I hadn't heard anything about this until it was upon us.
Hmm.
And then I was like, where do you even watch Versus? I remember back during the pandemic, I think it was Swiss Beats and somebody else bought it and they had their own platform. And then I was like, I don't even know where you watch. And I was like, honestly, I don't really care to like look for it, but I did see some of the videos behind it. I was like, oh, this looks like it was a fun time.
Yeah, people on social media were highlighting the fact that Lil Wayne was absent.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, we can't tell that brother what to do, but at the same time, you are like a staple of the Cash Money movement back in the day.
And you are
And
pure New Orleans, and this was like a New Orleans battle.
what you doing right now? Again, I don't know the dude's schedule, but he ain't, I would assume that he ain't the most busiest celebrity
Person.
rapper entertainer out there. He could have made some, I don't know. But
And a
anyway,
lot of people, I saw were saying this is the thing you should have been trying to be at instead of the Super Bowl.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Like, you complained months leading up to the Super Bowl, months after the Super Bowl, and this was your chance to get on stage and represent New Orleans, and you ain't come? Like,
Hmm.
huh?
I mean, just to stop through,
Right.
Snoop Dogg, according to what I read, Snoop Dogg came through and he was a no was he
No Limit.
no
He was on
limit
No Limit
for a very short time.
right before it kind of crashed and burned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he came out and did his, popular verse from one of his songs. And it seemed like everybody had a good time. I knew about it ahead of time. I mean, they promoted it. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't no heavy media blitz or anything like that.
Mhm.
But we knew at least a month in advance that it was going down. I
And
think you
see,
can
I
go back.
had no clue. I had
Yeah,
0.
yeah. I've seen flyers and I've seen people talking about
Was it on,
it.
like, Instagram?
Yeah,
Okay, see,
yeah.
I'm not really on Instagram like that anymore.
Uh, um, and I think you can watch it on YouTube. But it's good nostalgia for
Yeah,
folks our age. We were in college
yeah.
when all the no limit cash money stuff started popping off. So it's
Fun
more of a
times.
yeah, 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 for fun times.
I
Yep.
heard No Limit won. I heard
I
that
never keep score.
Juvie was really the only one on the Cash Money side
Hmm.
that really showed up. And of course, Manny Fresh was DJing,
Hmm.
but I heard, it was like some infighting on their side because some people didn't show up because somebody wasn't invited, or it was like some mess. And then, was it Birdman was being kind of messy on the mic or whatever. And I was like, let's just
Yeah, I don't know
leave
all the
that stuff alone.
backstory. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Didn't want to report on it or mention it because I don't know what the backstory is or the
Yeah.
context. But I am reading that he had some words for one of his own
BG,
crew.
I think.
Yeah, it wasn't even across the aisle. Because
It
some of
was
the
within their
verses.
own camp,
Exactly,
which
exactly,
is like,
exactly.
what?
Yeah, y'all could have picked another time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But
but
I heard Juvenile was really great, and they said he looked good, he sounded good, and it was like he needs to go on tour because he still got it. And of course, Manny Fresh, great DJ, he still got it.
mhm,
So I was
yeah,
like, good for them.
yeah. A lot of people said Mia X did a
Oh
good
yeah,
job as well because she's kind of been estranged
yeah.
from
No Limit.
Cash Money, or was it No Limit or Cash Money? What was she?
I thought she.
She's No Limit. Yes, she's
Yeah.
No Limit. My bad. And they said she did a good job. She sounded great. and
Look
like you
great.
said, same, yes, and look great.
Yeah.
Same thing with Juvenile. He's one of those elder statesmen that's taking care of themselves,
Yeah.
like
Going to the
Red,
doctor,
yeah,
drinking
like
some water.
yeah, like the Locks. All
Yeah.
them brothers from the Locks look good.
Yeah.
Red Man and Method Man, they both look good,
Yeah.
keeping taking care of themselves. So
Keeping
I guess we can,
healthy. Yep.
yeah, I guess we can add Juvenile to that. We've
Add Juvenile
always
to the list.
right. We've been talking about, rappers, entertainers, passing away
Too soon.
too soon,
Yeah.
so we make sure we give props to those who are still hanging in there, and they are just as vital and just as up and going as when they first came out. So
Yep.
shout out to them. All right. So yeah, that was it. That was a quick one because I didn't watch it. I think Versus is back. I don't know for sure. I thought I read somewhere that this is the return of Versus.
Hmm.
So that leads me to believe that they're going to do
Maybe they're
more.
gonna do more.
Yeah, I would assume, right? Because if you just say special, a one time only
Limited.
special,
Yeah.
yeah. But they said the return of
Hmm.
Versus. So we'll have to see and see if they can keep it up. See if they can bring some more people to the stage.
No.
All right, so that's going to do it for the culture. We're going to move into the hookup, and this is a non-tech hookup. Reason why I didn't watch the Versus was
Mhm.
because I was in my kid's bathroom putting down the flooring for the bathroom. We're in the last throes of a bathroom remodel, and the last couple of sections was to put down the floor. So I spent all weekend putting down the floor. We chose LVP flooring, which is
Mhm.
like engineered wood that you can make it look like wood. It can look like tile. It can look like
Marble.
ceramic. It can look like marble. So we picked the one that kind of looks like tile.
Mhm.
And I was at it all night long
Mhm.
because I kept forgetting. And this is my hookup for the week. If you're ever considering putting down flooring by yourself and you want to use that LVP flooring, it works like a puzzle.
Mhm.
So you got to put the pieces in and you got to smack them together and they go together. Well, if you are trying to cut pieces because you got a weird angle in your room or it's not going to line up perfectly, my hookup for LVP flooring is you only cut the sides that is going to border the wall. So the reason why that's important is because you have to take measurements. Like if you're
Mhm.
coming up against a corner and you got to make a cutout into the LVP, right? If you cut it, then that messes up the puzzle pieces, which then messes up we did it in a bathroom and we need to make sure it's waterproof. Well,
Yeah.
you got to make sure they're in there and snug
Mhm.
so water doesn't seep in. But when you cut it, you're actually cutting into the grooves, the interlocking pieces that lock it together. So the only cuts you want to make is the cuts that are going to butt up against the wall. Because if you try to cut them short and then try to put it together, number one, it's not going to go together. And number two, it's not going to be waterproof because the water will go
Seep
down
through.
into those cuts.
Yeah.
Versus if you put it in the right way, the water won't be able to cut through those grooves and it'll stay on the surface and you can mop it up, wipe it up, whatever the case may be. So that is my home improvement hookup for the week. If you are doing LVP flooring in your home, make sure you are only cutting around the edges that butt up against the wall. And knowing that will help you do the measurements because I did it wrong a bunch of times because I would line it up because they say kind of lay out
Lay it
the
out.
before you start cutting, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm doing my measurements. I'm measuring, and I go and cut it. And then I come in, the measurements be wrong. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? It's like took me an hour before I figured it out.
Yeah.
And figuring out was I was cutting and then trying to match the cuts together. And it wasn't giving the snap that I was
Yeah.
looking for because I was doing the measurements, but I wasn't transferring them to the opposite end of the LVP that was supposed to go against the wall. I
Yeah.
was trying to measure it as it looks, but actually you have to take those measurements and put them on the other side
Yeah.
that you're going to cut that goes up against the wall because the part that goes up is in the wall. You can put quarter round or
Yeah.
you can put the baseboard down there and that
And
kind of
cover it.
seals it. Right. That'll cover it and it kind of seals it on the edges, but you don't want to cut where you actually have to put it together because that's going to mess up the integrity of the flooring. So,
and the seaming of it, because if you're
yeah.
using like I did my laundry room with LVP
Mm-hmm.
and I used
Mm-hmm.
like the marble,
Mm-hmm.
and the corners, it wasn't the corners in the back, it was the corners in the front of the laundry
Mm-hmm.
room where like the
Mm-hmm.
doors are, because
Right.
that where it's kind of like weird, and
Door
the
jam.
builders did like some weird funky things with like
Mm-hmm.
the crown molding and the baseboard molding that
Mm-hmm.
is in there. And like, yeah, you want to make sure the things that are up against the edge
Mm-hmm.
and things that can potentially be hidden in
Yeah.
case you do mess up and you can't get quite that smooth angle for the cutouts. And so yeah.
Yep. Yep. But if you do it right, it looks good. Like I said, it took
Yep.
me a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but once I figured it out, I was off to the races. But I just couldn't figure out how I was doing the measurements. And then
And
I
they
go
weren't
put it in
matching.
and they were wrong and it wasn't matching. I was like,
Yeah.
I measured this perfectly. What am I doing? It took me an hour and I was like, oh yeah, because I'm not putting the measurements on the side that I'm cutting. I'm lining it up the way it's supposed to look, but you have to take those measurements and almost reverse them to
Yeah.
get it to where you're cutting it to where the only side is being cut is the side that's going up against the wall. It's going to be covered by stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So that is going to do it for the hookup. And Nica, if you don't have anything else, I think
Nope.
that's going to do it for this week's show. Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. To connect, comment, share, and support the show, please go to snoboscast.com. You can get all the information about the show, and you can listen to episodes on our website. So I think that's it for this week. Happy Halloween if you celebrate. And until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.